at least 4 inches of ice, and that's with the safety.
Oh, you gotta love it. Yeah, I know. Oh, wow. That's the biggest one yet. Big jumbo perch.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. The Bro Roadshow. It's all about ice, about learning about ice, about knowing what's going on. And I want to thank you for joining us tonight. We have some really, really nice giveaways. We always do. I always squeeze some swag out of some great sponsors, and please support them. But before we get started, I want to thank Chesterburg Toyota for supporting the show. Chesterburg is a state-of-the-art dealership and has legendary trucks, has coffee. So when you go in there and you're looking at stuff, go have a coffee, talk to Brian and the gang down there. They will hook you up with a nice vehicle, or if you need your vehicle fixed, then also don't forget about Bemidji Sports Center. You want a tricked out ride to put an OtterBox on? They have them there. They have side-by-sides, four-wheelers. How you doing, Patty? Remember, they have the stuff that you want to get on the ice. And good to see you guys tonight. Big long track sleds and stuff like that. So definitely think about Bemidji Sports Center. Hey, Randy. Make sure also to check out Visit Bemidji. If you're coming up to Bemidji to fish for some big perch, some walleyes, whatever you want to do, make sure visit Bemidji. Talk to Brady and the bunch there. Brady and the gang. I better not say Brady bunch. They will hook you up with what's going on in Bemidji. So, how you doing, Michigan? Thanks for being in the house. And Reed, awesome to see you guys tonight. Before I bring on Sam, and we have a very special guest tonight. My cup's going to be very normal tonight. The cup is not shaking, so I know it's safe. I want to remind everybody that I'm going to be at the Twin Cities Walleye Unlimited, and that's in Bloomington at Bloomington Event Center, Knights of Columbus, and that's at 7 o'clock. We're having a seminar tomorrow, so stop in. You can even get there early. I'll be there at 6. So 6:30 social time, and then presentation at 7. Hey, Chris, good to have you here. We got a great giveaway tonight, and also I'll be at Cabela's on Saturday and Duluth Sports Show on Sunday. So we do have ice, and we're going to tell you what's going on here. But before I get too far into it, I want to thank everybody for coming up, but I want to thank all the sponsors, the ones that you see on the screen. Please support them. They are here to make sure you catch more fish. And Brooke, could you bring on my award-winning visual marketing for Northland Tackle, Sam Larsen, who I haven't seen you since the St. Paul Ice Show. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Hey, not too bad. That was like the good old days there. It was super busy, wasn't it?
Fun to see. Lots of people shopping, lots of people buying, getting ready for ice.
Absolutely. And I can't see it because it's way down here, but I'm supporting Northland.
Yeah.
Greg Wallner has some cool ideas. Why not have a jersey, when you're in a booth? But really cool stuff. So, Sam, what's going on in Bemidji area or surrounding area to Red?
So we are in a warm-up right now. We've had some warm weather. The good news is it's still getting cool at night. We're still, I would say, maintaining our ice, probably building a little bit, but not like what we typically see. Will Pappenfuss is in the office today. He's been getting out on some ice around. He's even found some stuff that's thick enough to get his four-wheeler on some of that smaller stuff. So we have ice. It's good. I hope this warm weather doesn't put too much dent on it, but with these cold nights, I think it'll be fine. We're just not building a lot, so don't expect it. We're not going to be driving trucks in a week or two or anything like that. So be careful, check everything. It really depends on the lake.
And if you don't know about ice, don't go. And that's just that there's so much available online. If you don't know how to read ice, make sure you bring someone that does, or go to a resort where they will have steaks out there, not steaks that you eat, but they'll have steaks you can follow. And speaking of steaks, we thought we had a branch hit our house, a loud boom as we were sitting, and I had a ruffed grouse sitting next to a window. He didn't break it out, but he was sitting next to a window. And so I had some fresh chicken that night. That was Ruffy, a yard pet. And I know it's not a hunting show, but I hunted while I was spooling reels and tying on Northland tackle. So it was actually.
Did you see our friends over at Visit Bemidji? I think Brady shot some footage of a buck stuck in the river out on Lake Bemidji that the Bemidji Fire Department went out and rescued. So if you guys haven't seen that, make sure to check out Visit Bemidji's Facebook page. And Brady,
I've seen that.
Really
That's
cool
amazing.
footage of it. Yeah, me and my wife happened to be driving by at lunch, and we actually saw the deer. And then later, I saw Brady's footage up there. It's pretty wild, and I'm glad the fire department was able to get that deer out of there.
So, people don't know sometimes what to do with ice. Well, nature doesn't know sometimes.
Yep.
And that bird seen a reflection in my window and thought he was going to fly through it. But greetings from Mexico. Awesome. Good to have you here. So it's all about ice. And I was out tonight, and that's why, I got the rosy cheeks because I was running around, and I've got some pictures here to show you. It was pretty good. And there's a lot of lakes in the area, small, shallower lakes that have that are frozen over, but not all of it is safe. There's been some vent holes and stuff like that, but there's a lot of 4 inches of ice in different areas, and even more as you get up to red. Red magically makes ice like crazy.
Yeah,
it was 41 degrees tonight. And the ice ain't going nowhere. It's just, it gets a little wet on top, and that's about it. But it's hard black ice. The problem is a lot of it's still clear, which makes fish very spooky. But I was jigging, and I had an iFish Pro sitting out there. And this is a tip up that when the fish hits, the flag goes up, and you can reel them in. And so I'll set it up with a Gamma Cat. So there's a little tether there that kind of triggers a tip up. But put a dead stick in there, and when the fish hits, reel them on in. There it is right there. Check that out. That was fun. Had a great time. And you notice I'm on the snow because the ice is clear. If you're out in the clear stuff, they won't swim underneath you, especially in those depths. A lot of fun. Had a good time trying to have evidence that we're catching fish, and jigged some up while I was waiting for the flag to go, and even got some perch. So it's just fun to get out, and you can see how clear that ice is. If you don't have cleats, you're going to find out how many bones are in your neck, and you don't want to get a concussion. I seen one on Red Lake here about 6 days ago. Someone was running out there with a bunch of friends, and the first thing to hit was their shoulders and head. So wear cleats when you go. Before I bring in Brad Hawthorne, Legend of Mille Lacs, I want to just make sure that you talk about the prize pack, what's going on.
Yeah, so we got a Northland prize pack tonight, along with some Visit Bemidji gear, and of course a Razor auger on here too. So to get entered in to win this, make sure to like, comment, and share the show. A bunch of cool stuff. So comment your questions, and we'll try to answer a few of those throughout the show.
And I'm talking about Razor for Nick Stead because he's driving to Wisconsin, and they're going to be over in southern Wisconsin at a show. So he's giving an auger away tonight. It's the ultralight synthetic choice. You could have a 6-inch with the wings or an 8. Pretty cool stuff. But these are the new gloves I was using tonight, and look at those magnets. They hold the fingers open. They're cool. They look like one of those Marvel characters like Nightcrawler or something, but super cool. Some really neat stuff there to check out. So look at them. They are the new Stealth Dry Tech mitten with the Sherpa wool inside. Before we go any farther, I want to bring on the Legend of Mille Lacs, Brad Hawthorne, and he's Northland Pro. He's everything Northland and just about every other sponsor I have too. How you doing, Brad?
Good. How are you guys tonight?
Long time no see since the St. Paul Ice Show.
Yeah, no kidding. What a good show that was, wasn't it? Holy cow.
Oh, it was like the old days. Saturday, it was like you had to walk like this because there's people everywhere. And somehow, did you notice? You almost recognize everybody because the ice fishing community, even if there's 10,000 people, you kind of know them a little bit.
Yeah.
Hey, Brad, go ahead.
No, it was really cool to see all past customers and the buzz, even though with the warm year we're having, everyone was just buying stuff like crazy. It was cool to see everyone so excited.
Absolutely.
Speaking of the warm year, how is the ice looking in the Mille Lacs, Brainerd Lakes area?
Mille Lacs, it is I would call it non-existent, but there is some ice in the bays. There's actually a resort open down in Isle Bay there that's allowing foot traffic out currently. I don't know if that'll hold through today or tomorrow, but the bays on Mille Lacs, they freeze first, and there's been a lot of people actually out ice fishing. I personally don't venture out on Mille Lacs until the whole thing is locked up because I'm a firm believer in big lake safety, and I've seen one too many times where if the lake is open at all and any wind develops, it can chew up ice remarkably fast. So I just stay off until the whole thing's froze.
I don't blame you. That's big water right there, and so that's a little bit behind. But are the smaller shallow lakes in your area starting to get ice? Are they getting a good sheet?
Yeah, the smaller lakes are 1 to 3 inches. The warm weather's not doing us any favors, but it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. We got a little bit of snow the other night that laid a thin layer over the stuff that was froze, which is actually a blessing because it kept that cold in and kept things moving forward.
That's good to hear. And I seen that in the Grand Rapids, Bemidji area, some lakes got snow here in the last couple of days, just a little bit, and it kept everything trapped so the ice didn't get watery on top. And then other parts, you can't walk on it with just a plain boot. You need cleats. But
yeah,
let's get on to some tips and stuff. So, Brad, what's your favorite 1-2 punch for fishing Mille Lacs? You know, using Northland stuff. What's your 1-2 punch?
Well, it used to be the buckshot, and so because Northland's so good at coming up with awesome lures, they keep kicking my number one lure out of the number one spot. So forever, the buckshot's caught more walleyes than any lure on the face of the planet, and it's a remarkable lure. It got knocked out of first place by the glass buckshot last year. So the glass buckshot is a phenomenal lure. It sent the buckshot in number 2. Yep, there it is right there. That's actually a really good color too. It sent it into number 2, which kind of pushed my whole favorite line back a little bit. So if I go from number 1 to number 3, it's glass buckshot. Then I'm going forage minnow, and then the forage jig. So that would
with the new Super Glow.
Super Glow has been, well, I didn't let the cat out of the bag. We were on red the other day, and if you didn't have Super Glow on, you weren't getting bit. Period.
Interesting.
Yep.
That's one of Sam's creations there, and he could explain it a little bit.
Yep. So Northland added this new, basically pulled out all the stops and bought the most expensive glow paint we could. So anything with this new Super Glow icon, this little tritone Super Glow icon that goes green, yellow to red, that's going to have that new technology glow. And basically, it's like a better battery. It's going to absorb more light. It's going to glow longer. It's going to glow brighter. So it's a real significant improvement. I know we've been working on our glow the last few years, but this really knocks it out of the water. So make sure to look for that new icon, and that'll get you the good glow. And the white is the strongest, followed by chartreuse and blue, and then the red is kind of the tail end of that, just because it's hard to get a really good glow red, but it's still significantly better than what we produced in the past. And yeah, it's lights up. The white I've seen have a shine. It may not be bright, but have a shine of up to like an hour sitting in the dark. But you're going to get a really strong glow for like 10 minutes out of it with the white.
And well, you want to make sure to have a Northland glow flashlight with you because it's what is it? It's not infrared. It's
UV. Yep. So
UV.
glow is, again, think of it like a battery. The charge you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. So when it comes to charging them, actually the best light to charge it is direct sunlight. It's got good, powerful UV rays in it naturally. It's bright. But a lot of times when we need glow the most, there's no sun out. So second to that is a UV flashlight. Northland's got a couple options. We have the Glow Buster flashlight, and then we have a Glow Buster keychain flashlight. those are UV lights. They're going to charge it quickly and efficiently and give you that max power. And then followed by your headlight, cell phone. That'll still charge it, get you a really good glow. But again, it's a battery. What you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. So
awesome. So Brad, we just had this question come on, and I like to get to the viewer questions. I'll talk about the tip-up setup later, but what cleats do you use when you're running around on black ice and it's wet? It's like hard to stand on. What are you going to use for cleats?
Catulas. I've been running Catulas for about 15, 20 years. Those ones you buy for like $5-6 or whatever, and they always end up on top of your boot. That's the
I don't want that.
the Catulas stay where they are, and they don't slip. It's a good product.
Yeah, that's what I was using tonight, and we did find some new ones Heather picked up at when we go to the ice show. We buy stuff too, and they're corkers. They go on the bottom of your feet, they slip on, and they look pretty solid. But I will tell you later what they're like. But she bought them just to check them out because it is slippery around here, and it is most places where you get that first ice. And so, how often do you recharge your super glows, Brad?
So yesterday on Red, we were recharging now. Here's where glow in general people don't talk through it enough, I think, to understand it, is we were actually recharging our glow during the day. And like what Sam says, we were pulling it out of the hole and just kind of waving it around in the sunlight. And we noticed that we thought the correlation was just jigging action, and it was not. The bites were coming when we would pull out the lure to either rebait, and then it would get bit. And that was because it was so zappy. It was, even though it was bright underneath there, it made it stand out so much further. So not only does glowing it at night work, but hats off to trying it during the day. It might make the difference between 15 and 20 fish.
Yeah, that's good advice.
I like to recharge probably with the new Super Glow every 10 minutes to be safe. You're going to get a really good bright glow for 10 minutes. Like I said, depending on what color you have, it's probably going to glow for at least a half an hour, but you're going to see a little bit of a fall off as that. So 10 minutes is a good time. It's a lot of jigs in there. And as long as you don't have fish working, it's good to just give it a charge and know you have it. But you're going to get a really strong glow for like 10 minutes.
Well, and that answers that question. Do you only use glow at dawn and dusk all day? We use it all the time because when you're on the ice, it glows. But today was it got really gloomy out there, and that's why I think the walleyes bit really well towards evening. But I had some people out on Red today that it wasn't as good as yesterday, but the salooner table was in the high 60s, and today was like 12%. And that they have a graph and a chart that shows you stuff for game and fish movements. But so very good questions. Keep them coming.
So Brad, we know about the Mille Lacs walleyes, but we're hearing rumors about the perch coming back. Is that something that you are getting on a guide service? You're kind of running into as a bonus fish. Tell us a little bit about.
That's my radar's on.
Yeah, everyone wants to talk about the dirty little perch.
I love perch.
So the perch. Remember 5-6 years ago, everyone was talking about the perch hatch and the fish weren't biting, and Mille Lacs has got no fish in it again, right? What happened was that they got older, and Mille Lacs is full of food, and they grow tremendously fast down here. So all those people that were complaining about those fish, and now they're all like 10 to 11 and a half to 12 and a half, and we even have a few in that 14-inch category. So they're coming back.
Wow,
they're here.
That's a monster.
They're out of that, that food category now, a lot of them. And the cool part is what's behind the ones that are keeper size right now is there's another just bumper crop of fish in that 6, 7, 8, 9 inches. So I think we are going to have Mille Lacs back as far as a perch fishery goes too. I was excited. I was keeping my mouth shut about it last year. I was running trips and kind of just holding things close to my vest because I wasn't sure if it was the areas we were finding them on the deep gravel down there, or if it was the areas, out on the transitions. I wasn't sure because we ran into them. We kind of stayed within a 5-mile area, and I just kept my mouth shut. And then I explored around this spring a little bit after opener, and and they're everywhere. Yeah,
You heard it here, everybody. You heard it right here. We're getting questions rolling in, good ones too. So, do you believe in the impact of barometric pressure on fishing?
absolutely, absolutely. So pressure is pressure. It doesn't matter if it's above water, below water, and when you're dealing with a species that has an air bladder and that is subject to different pressures, like we absolutely pressure in a sense with fish makes them feel full. They don't have that trigger. They don't think about it like you and I. They go by something very, very simple, and that's pressure.
Well, and then this question goes right after that. How do you trigger negative fish?
Negative fish is downsizing or going to. That's why that forage jig is my favorite neutral bait, because you can lay it on the bottom. You can lay it on the bottom with a full minnow, and fish scoop it up, whether that's walleye, perch, and that's my number one neutral approach. And if that doesn't work, then I'm going to purely set lines. And set lines have bailed me out of more neutral fish situations than anything else.
I agree. I agree on that one. And I had a quick question here. I'll throw out there. What's my favorite lure? Brobug color sneeze. I've caught so many fish in my area, jumbo perch on that lure, on Winnie, on Cass, on Leech, on all these other really cool lakes that I'm not going to mention right now. Maybe next week I'll tell you to keep you hanging. But this is, it's really cool to have Mille Lacs coming on. And I think, Sam, we're going to have to go over there because we get to play here a lot, but it sounds like there's some Devil's Lake sized perch in that lake.
Mille Lacs is a place I always enjoy going to, and being up in Bemidji, we drive by a lot of really good lakes. 2 hours, 2.5 hours south to Mille Lacs, but it's always a pleasure. So it's special, especially because of its proximity to the Twin Cities area and whatnot. It's a pretty special place. So yeah, I'd love to get down there this winter.
Well, and then now we have questions for Brad here. Do you prefer morning or evening bite, and do you use a swivel when you're fishing for panfish?
Don't use a swivel for panfish unless I'm using bigger spoons, which is not a lot. And at that time, I'm using, you're using your perch and walleye stuff, and then what was the other question on the panfish? My favorite.
Do you prefer morning or evening for fishing, basically?
I've never really thought about it because as well as I do, a guide trip starts in the morning and it usually ends in the evening, so you don't really have to pick which one's your favorite. But if I had to pick one to fish for the rest of my life, would probably be the morning. I see that morning time period is what usually shapes the pattern for the day and kind of puts the rubber stamp on it for you to process the rest of the daylight hours.
Well, I agree. And then my favorite plastic is the tungsten bloodworm. And that's the bloodworm's been around for many years. It's one of the designs I came up with. But this bloodworm is a pre-rig, so you don't have to mess around. So just look for the Northland display and this gold with the red. I've caught fish in about 11 different states on that thing. So it's super good. And everything recognizes bloodworms. And then they're hammering a lot of questions, so we're trying to get through here. So do you put your bait on the bottom when you're fishing for fish at all?
That's again, that forage minnow jig. It's my number one lay on the bottom bait, because 9 times out of 10, when you lay that on the bottom, the way it's weighted leaves the hook point up. And then that minnow there. And then when I pick it up, they're either going to hit it when it's on the bottom and that minnow's wiggling, and when I say pick it up, if the bottom's right here, I'll pick it up like there, just enough to get it above the bottom, and bang, that's usually when they hit it. But that bottom game, when you're playing on the bottom there, just like with, jigging up or your cadence up, you have to figure out, do they like a couple taps on the bottom? Do they like it lifted a little bit? You got to kind of play with it just like you would if you were in the water column.
And they'll tell you.
Yes, they will.
Brad, Mille Lacs is a notoriously clear body of water. What do you do to battle that water clarity on pressured walleyes? Is there anything you do different than other lakes?
Yeah, noise is number one. Noise, I don't think as anglers we realize how loud we actually are above the ice. we were out with a video crew several years ago, and we had a GoPro down in, I believe it was 26 or 28 feet of water, and it had a microphone on it that was wired to the surface. And I was walking across the flat, and the videographer is like, stop. And I stopped, and he's like, and he's motioning me. I'm like, I get over there. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I could hear you walking, plain as day. And so that right there really, at that point in my career, I was like, yeah, noise. Yeah, it does scare fish, but I didn't know how it transferred through the ice like that. That was a real eye opener to me even on red, when we had a fish, you have fish coming in and your cleats grind a little, boom, they're gone. I think that's one that people really need to pay attention to is whatever you're doing to guard against noise, 10x it, and then, reevaluate what you're doing. Radios, dropping anything on the ice, even walking over to say hi to your buddy on a negative bite with cleats on,
And now this question's for Sam, because new panfish tungsten. If you could give a little brief description on what's cooking.
Yeah, so a couple things new. We have the old tungsten mudbug and gill getter, a couple years old now, but we have that in new super glow color. So that stretches across the line, but we also added in some of those Wonder Bread colors. We got a blue Wonder Bread, we got a sneeze looking one, purple Wonder, and I think just regular Wonder Bread in that. Oh, and a red and white. So that's new there, but then brand new is the flat fry jig. And that's a tungsten jig. And the difference between that jig and the other ones, the mudbug and the gill getter are 60-degree eye. So they hang at an angle. The flat fry is a 90-degree eye. So it hangs straight flat. The reason we did that, sometimes, especially in pressured water, having that perfectly horizontal presentation is super important for panfish. Another thing it does is it's a really good plastics jig. We were able to build a custom mustad hook for it, and it's got a little longer gap than a traditional hook like you'd find in the mudbug and gill getter. That was a steelhead hook, so it butts up really nice to plastics. Good quality hook, and yeah, good bait. When do you guys like to use each one of those, the mudbug and the gill getter versus the flat fry at the 90?
Oh, you go ahead, Brad, on that one.
I'm going to say the gill getter for me is like, that's where I start. I start with the gill getter, and that's either with live or with plastics. And then I'll go into, some different approaches, but I usually start there and let the fish tell me from there where I'm going. And that could be anywhere. I don't have a rubber stamp for that, but you kind of look at their attitude towards, vertical, horizontal plastics versus live bait, and then start making decisions from there.
Well, and then someone had hooks for Red Lake. I have red, I have bright orange, and I have pink. I have a lot of different octopus hooks, and I'll have, if they're going, I use 4 because you want to hook some more bone in their mouth. But I'll go down to 8s, and you can pull a big fish on that. And then, there's one right here, just a split shot right there, and then and you can put it right down, but they're not afraid of the split shot. I've never had them afraid of the split shot. So, but that answers that. So what color do you use when you're on red, Brad?
I was not the glow red, glow pink guy on red. Even when I was running the otter train out there, I saw more success in the natural colors. And so that always, from those few years, always put the glow red. And I know people have success with it, and largely because people were always fishing at night. I'm guiding during the day. I'm sleeping at night, and everyone's jigging glow red buckshot and just annihilating fish. But I would say my favorite art is going to be a blue chrome moon glow. Moon glow is highly, highly underrated color on Upper Red Lake, along with blue chrome.
And how are you hooking the bait on the bottom, real quick? If you could get that, and then we'll bring Sam in here.
On the forage minnow jig, I just barely hook inside the lip, so you're just getting a little bit of that skull there, so that minnow is wiggling. I'm not going through the dorsal.
Good.
Alrighty. So a cool thing about you two as a pair is you share a lot of sponsors. So we can really dig into some of the products and technology you guys are using. Let's talk a little bit about fish finders. What are each of you running as far as fish finders on the ice?
Well,
Me?
Humminbird for me.
Yeah, Humminbird, man.
But what? Yeah, tell us what model, what accessories. Talk a little bit about that.
The
So-
ice bundle. I'm running an ice bundle. I like to have Mega Live, and I like being able to have the mapping, the VX chip. If you go to the store, just look for this. That's the box it came in, and you can highlight your contours. But the Lake Master maps are amazing, and it's all in one, but also 2D sonar. If the fish gets sensitive on other beams, you could always switch back and forth. And Brad, they're the only ones that have that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for the whole package, that's a pack to get. We got 2 of them, and the other one I use a lot, especially when I'm scouting ahead of my clients. I use Mega 360. I can pop that down there. I feel that is just, it's a wonderful tool to see how the fish are, helicopter view of how the fish are using the structure. You know, how close they're coming to those edges, if they're on top, you can almost get a better feel, almost like a camera with the Mega 360. And I really like Mega 360 for those basin scenarios. You just let that thing rotate a few times and it'll tell you the direction that your fish are going. And then I pop that Mega Live out and start. That's when you break out the Mega Live, now you mean business, because now you're going to be on top of them for, pulling them out.
See where they're at and chase them down.
Yep.
What size screens are you guys running for those units?
Well, I'm running a 9, and then I'll put it between. When I set up the otter, I'll have it between the people so they could all stare at it. They used to be across from each other. Now they're facing the same way, but they could see each other's lures, and then they can know to jig and watch what the fish is doing. And if it gets strange, like if they're coming in and they're feeling that, or some lakes, every lake's different. If they're getting in a certain mood, then I'll go to 2D and I'll have the 2D sonar down, stop pinging and switch over. But the 360 is amazing. And when we had a photo shoot on Mille Lacs, and it was amazing on Mille Lacs, those flats, how they'll use just one spot.
Yep.
And I was watching Brad with his people go over to him, and then we came in and simply just working one area and went over with Mega Live, we were able to cater to the fish. But if we didn't have that 360, you could shoot your beam around, but that 360 sees stuff laying on the bottom.
Yes. It sees stuff laying on the bottom, and it tells you where they're coming from and where they're going. And remember that day, bro? We were all kind of on the edge, and then I should have been paying more attention, but it got a little bit lighter, and those fish started sliding up on top, right about where you were.
Yeah.
And the cool part of the Mega 360, you don't have, once you set it, it's just running. So you can watch the thing from 10 feet away and go, there's 3 coming, and you can get ahead of them. That's the cool part I like about it.
Yeah, you drill fill the holes around a 360, especially on the reefs. If you're on a mud flat, you're not going to leave it if it's got fish. If it's a productive mud flat, you're going to drill it out and then put it down so you know where to go. And someone was asking, how do you sneak around in cleats? You kind of don't. You hope for snow, and then you just got to deal with it. You could slide with your boots, but you'll find out how many bones you have in your neck and your head when you do. It's you just got to wear the cleats, and they are impacted by it. And when I've shot with everybody, I've shot with Sam, I shot with Bill Linder, and when they got the cameras down looking up, you can see everything. You can see, even with a little bit of snow, you can see the 4-wheeler, you could see the trucks, you could see the house set up. So it's surprising that we catch the fish that we do.
Yeah.
Even with a little bit of snow. So stealth, I don't think people use stealth enough. And we're not out there to drill. We're out there to fish. So razor a few holes and use what you got, and then just a few more. But that perpetual noise, I'm not a big fan of. And but we have a little less noise, but with razor wings, the auger getting stuck at the bottom of the hole scares more fish than the cutting process. And so many of these augers are getting stuck and dragging or sticking a little bit. this thing goes through so smooth, it's not going to scare them quite as bad. So any little thing you could do to make it happen.
I think you're going to see a lot of manufacturers change over to that. I think the days of, and like you want your auger, now that we don't have to drill 10,000 holes in a day, right? I mean, technology brought us to the days where, yesterday on Red, we drilled 2 holes for everyone. We verified there was fish there and started fishing. And, now when you have one tool to do it, I want it to re-drill, I want it to drill, and I want it to do it fast. And
yeah,
it's
what a difference. What a difference with those wings. And compared to, you go back, 5 years ago, you hear power auger on the ice. Sam, remember that everybody stopped what they're doing and was turning and looking. We were wondering what that sound was. It's been such a long time since you get to hear it. You don't have to deal with gas anymore. And you know what I'm seeing is the actual electric power heads are going to go away, because people are like, if I'm going to spend the money, I want to get a power tool. I want to get a Milwaukee, a DeWalt brushless drill, and then I can use it at other times of the year. And there's so much available there, but I want the state-of-the-art drill. I want something light. So really, really cool stuff happening in that world. Here's a question for you, Brad. What batteries are you running, and what kind of runtime do you get out of them?
Oh man, I'm about a
briefly.
Okay. On my bigger screen units, 8, 9, 10, I'm running that 32 amp hour, amped, of course. And I prefer amped just because I've had failures in products, right? And and the luxury I have is I make my money guiding, and I get to partner with people who I usually contact and go, I love your product. It has a low failure rate. Can we work together? And that's the case with Amped. It's a high quality, good product.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always laugh, but when you call, there's somebody there, and I say in the seminars, there's no robot talking to you. You call Amp, they'll help you. And they have figured out what every electronics runs, what the runtime is. And, now I'm going to be rigging up a sled. I got a big giant skidoo that I'm going to put an amped in, and I'm debating between a 32 amp hour, 12 volt, or a 48 if I'm going to be running, screens. And that's the fun part, is rigging them up. But anyway, maybe I'll have Sam help me on that duty, because he's going to know how to rig it. And we're getting some good questions here. We do appreciate it. And are you flushing out holes, or are you skimming?
Me?
Yes.
If I can get away with leaving some slush in there, baby, I'm leaving that slush in there all day long, man.
All day long. When I used to fish tournaments a long time ago, I had a technique where I would reel the rod or the lure up to the rod tip, and I would joust it in, because it'd be so messy with slush and snow and everything. I had someone behind me using a different rod that snapped their rod trying to do the same thing, and got mad at me. And I'm like, well, drill your own hole, because in the tournaments there's some people that like to use your holes, and leave it really dense with snow. Just swirl a little hole to drop it in. And Sam, you've seen that many times on lakes, especially when we're fishing shallow. There's shallow bites right now that nobody's going to get on, because they want to go that way. They want to go farther out. But some of these bites are so shallow, when you set the hook, you could see the fish below your feet swimming around.
Again, when you look at the ice from underneath, that hole looks like a pocket light in your basement. It's like a spotlight up there. So the more slush and stuff you can leave in your hole, the less light penetration and the more comfortable those fish are going to feel.
Let's talk about the prize pack here, because this is a giant prize pack. Let's throw this out there real quick, Sam, if you could.
Yep. So we got a big prize pack tonight. Of course, we got the Bro Roadshow swag in it. Some stuff from Visit Bemidji, Little Paul and Babe. And then we have a Razor Auger. So make sure to like, comment, and share, and that'll get you entered in to win the giveaway.
Awesome. I love it. And we had one quick one we'll get through, and then we'll go on with our questions. But do you use snaps when you're dealing with spoons, Brad?
I do. I use not snaps. I use the Northland Quick Snap. I always get the name wrong, but I've been using it for years. I've been preaching about it. I don't use a crankbait snap. I use the one designed for ice fishing for spoons.
The quick change.
Yep, the quick change.
Yeah, but it's basically just a loop and a J hook. It doesn't even snap, right? That's the one you're talking about.
Yep, like a pear swivel.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a really good thing. I have that on some of mine, but I like to tie a loop knot in. I never get I can't quite tie them small, and I don't know if it's my vision. They're a little bit bigger, but the loop knot gives the spoon room to move. And sometimes I'll add a tiny swivel, little Gamakatsu swivel or something way up at the top. But I'll use a Northland snaps, and I'll use loop knots. And I like loop knots if you're going light.
Yeah.
But that little snap does help make noise and does attract fish. They're not going to go, okay, I don't like that snap thing. They're going to come up and eat it, and it also gives you a little protection from teeth on pike. A little, just a little.
The team a little bit.
Yeah. So Sam, you had some questions you were gonna.
Well, what kind of houses are you guys running this year? What models?
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
Again, tell us what models and the styles.
Well, we're both otter aficionados. So, bro, what are you running? You're rocking those. You're rocking hubs, aren't you?
Well, I have hubs. I love the flip styles, and I have hubs. If I get a big group, if they're like a social group, I'm going to stick them in a hub, a monster hub.
Mm.
If I have a feeling that we're going to have to run around, flip style. Give me a resort with 3 seats in it. Give me a pro with a bucket seats. These are nice for flipping and going, and you can hook them together. They have all the hardware at Otter to hook houses together to make a train. Like you used to have that train going on.
Yep.
You still do probably on Mille Lacs, but it's amazing. So you can go, and you want to make sure that you have a way to pull it so it's not running into you. So, Brad, if you want to go on about the hubs and some of that stuff too.
I'm, the Otter hubs are amazing. The new Monster cabin was my new favorite. We saw it last year. We got to use it. I wanted to take that prototype and never give it back. That I ordered 2 of them this year, and my favorite flip of all time is the Otter Pro cabin. It's easy enough to throw in the back of a truck. It's durable. I've got one of those things. I bet it's got 12,000 miles on it on the sled. Amazing.
They just don't break down. Yeah, you put the Hyfax on, and you know what? With Otter, they have a little label on almost all their parts. It's so easy to put it together. It takes a little bit of time because they're built. I mean, this is rugged. This is really a cool thing. And we've got, both of us got coat hooks in them. We've got the Otter lights with a dimmer. We have the places to put your coat up, but also stuff, a battery holder. You put your amp battery there. You can run your lights. How else do you trick yours? And I'll be back. Someone wants to see that clip. I'm going to go grab it. I got one right here.
The caddy systems. I love the Otter caddy systems. It's just, we've watched that from the inception of it, over a decade ago. It was a box. Now it's a trade. It's just always the problem in a portable was where do you put your little stuff? Where do you put all that little stuff that gets lost or goes down the hole? And the caddy system, that's how you do it right there.
There's the swivel right there. Now, as you see, the lure is, it's kind of a big one for the lure. They're not afraid of it. I like that on lakes with hammer handles. It seems like you save some more lures. And I think Sam likes small northern pike. It kind of helps sales.
We don't need to save any lures. Keep buying them.
Well, Otter's really cool. And in the Otter booth at the show, it had everything so you could see it all. And so definitely stop by. I'm going to be at Cabela Saturday and then the Duluth show on Sunday. I'd be glad to show you the stuff, and I'll show you why I love that stuff.
Brad, this is the one you're talking about, right?
That's the one I'm talking about right there, Sam. Yep.
So, but both work great and kind of serve the dual purpose. Like I said, Bros is a little bit more secure. You get a little bit more sway out of it. Brad's is a little bit more micro. It's a little bit more finessey, but they both work excellent.
Fantastic. Well, and as far as line, Most of my rods have about 3-pound test on if I'm fishing perch or panfish, and I like to use FC Ice, Sunline FC Ice. And if it says something else, even if it's this, I want FC Ice or Sniper to do bulk spools. But definitely check it out. It's really cool stuff, and it's high quality. But boy, we could have a 2-hour show here because we're just getting into the nitty gritties here. I want to mention too that Brad, and this ain't on the script, but Brad is a Rays and Lund Mercury Pro. And what boat are you running this coming year?
It's the 2025 Impact. We've got the 1875 Pro or 1875 Pro Guide and the 2025 Impact. I love that Impact. I think it's gonna be my 9th or 10th one, and
wow,
it's a phenomenal boat. And they haven't changed them too much over the years. It'd be hard to get me out of that boat.
I really love that Rays, and they're just so cool there. Eric will make sure that you have your boat the way you want. And I know we're talking about that now, but when do you buy a boat? You order it soon, so make sure to stop down at Rays. And Dave Hernisman runs a really tight ship there, and it is really something to see. They have all the models to check out, but stop in there. And I wanted to mention that because, Brad, you're a Lund Pro too, and we appreciate what they do. Ryan Spurl, we're really glad to have him in our corner. And but before we go, one last question here. What's your Clearwater jigging cadence?
Oh man, there's not a jigging. When you drop it down, and the fish either commits to you and you got a bend in the rod, or if he shies away, that's my favorite jigging cadence is the one that's working. So it's the one you figured out for the day. A lot of guys go, I just want to power jig all day. Well, your wrist gets sore. Man. I mean, so my favorite one is the one that's working. And if you're using a nice big rattle bait and you can just feel those rattles clunking down there, I like a nice hard jigging action, I guess would be the answer.
I love that too. And now people want to know how do they find you? Could you throw out where they could find you? You probably have multiple things, so could you give them a little throw some out?
I'm still old school. If you want to book a trip, hit me up on 651-271-8600, or you can send me an email through my website at mille lacsLakeGuide.com.
Oh, great. mille lacsLakeGuide.com. And you're going to have guide service, but you're also going to have some big houses out there too that people can come and check them out.
If you're looking to rent a house on Mille Lacs, look up Ice Camp Outfitters. It's we have luxury houses out there. I called my buddy Elon Musk, and we put internet on a few of those too. So if you like clicks and beeps, we got houses with clicks and beeps.
Oh, there we go. Love it. And it's always great to have Brad. Brad is a pro ice fisherman. His living is fishing, and it's good to have someone that all your living is fishing. That's really cool. Thank you for coming on, and we will be talking in the spring.
All right. Thanks for having me on, bro. Great show, man.
Absolutely. Well, Sam, we had a lot of questions, and then I wanted to just real quick talk about different lengths and rods. So I really, when I'm outside, the St. Croix Custom Ice 28 to 32 inch. The 32 inch is really nice, but I don't even mind a 36 when I'm out there. And on my iFish Pro, this is actually a longer rod that I got on there because it's easy just to come up and grab it. This is a 36 inch rod here, and they have some really cool stuff. And the Panfish series is nice. This is a new Panfish series. That reel, they call it an 800, but it's really a 500 with a wider spool, which takes care of your line. Now, if you look at this reel, it looks big, and then you look at it, it's small. You can cover it up with your hand. And their Panfish stuff, they've really, really worked hard to make these panfish, ice fishing panfish rods combos happen. And there's a lot of time in that rod, and that's been working really good. And it's a great dead stick too. It's a soft rod, or the dead eye rod I use a lot. So what do you think, Sam? What's your longest rod that you use, St. Croix?
I kind of like that 28 to 32. I do have some longer rods that I use occasionally, especially for outdoor stuff. But I've learned that 28 to 32 is really easy to store in any type of rod box. It works for outdoors. It works for the house. It just keeps it simple for me, where I don't have to load up my rods depending on the trip. I just have my core set of rods, and they work no matter what the conditions are. So 28 to 32 is definitely where I go to.
I really like those, they were telling me at St. Croix that in some areas they want 40, 50-inch rods, 60-inch rods, and why not just bring your open water rods at that point? But I really like at 32 for storage, like you say. But if I'm roving on the ice, I'll even go 36 now, and it makes a big difference.
Yep.
But when you're dealing with the CIs, the custom ice, you've got the virtually indestructible eyes, and when you're dealing with a Premier, you've got the stainless steel and the panfish rod stainless steel that's got the bigger eyelets, so you could actually, ice isn't going to stop and break your line there. So really cool stuff from St. Croix and made from scratch in Park Falls, Wisconsin. Pretty cool stuff. I love it. Before we do the giveaway, and I want to do this now so I don't forget, I want to thank Chesterburg Toyota for supporting the show. Chesterburg Toyota, stop in, check out a legendary truck or car or station wagon or used car, or get your stuff fixed there and say hi to Brian and the gang. Drink some of their coffee. Make yourself at home. They got a nice couch in there. Also, Bemidji Sports Center. They have some tricked out ice machines there. They have so much stuff there. It's unbelievable. It's a shop I could spend a lot of time in. And then Visit Bemidji. So if you go to Visit Bemidji, you want to come up here and fish, you want to go to Bemidji, Black Duck, surrounding area, you talk to Visit Bemidji, they're going to tell you where you can stay. And Brady and the gang there are really cool, and they donate some swag to this, but definitely some cool for this show kind of sponsors, and also support all the sponsors you see on this, and especially in Northland. And it's a hip place. I tell you, a lot of new stuff coming out, and there's a lot of new stuff coming out for open water.
Yep.
So now, do we have a winner?
We have a winner. So tonight's winner is going to be Keith Carey. So congratulations.
Keith Carey, you have won a pile of stuff.
Yep.
And you get to pick the size of the Razor auger, and that comes straight from Razor, and you can do a 6 or an 8, but it's the light synthetic, and then all the Northland swag and everything. Congratulations, Keith Carey.
And
I want to make sure that you know that. So
the past winners too, I've been a little slow to ship out some of the stuff with the ice show and getting all the brand new products ready. So I'm going to have a big shipping day tomorrow and try to get that out for you. So
we promise you'll get it. It might not be the next day. It might be the next week. You're looking at one busy man here who is at a show, designs stuff, and he paints, stamps, and wins that kind of stuff. So, and then myself, you know me, I got to go fishing, and I'll go grouse hunting just by walking around my windows and seeing what's laying on the lawn. But I want to make sure to take this time to invite you to come down to Twin Cities Walleye Inc., and that's going to be at the Bloomington Convention Center. And make sure to stop in. And my seminar's at 7. There's kind of a social thing, 6:30. So get there a little bit early. It might be pretty busy. And then Cabela's Saturday, I will be on hand. Make sure to stop in 11 to 3. And then the Duluth Sports Show. I'm going to be in Duluth too. So there's no rest for the fishermen here. Duluth Sports Show, I'll be at the Northland Razor booth, and that'll be at the Duluth Sports. So if you can make one of those events, stop down. I'll be live in the flesh. I want to thank Sam for being the co-host, and then, of course, Brad Hawthorne for joining the show tonight, and Brooke Trace, who is our producer, and then, of course, creative marketing, Heather Brosdahl. We'll see you next Wednesday at 7. Special guest, Justin Sofa. He's going to be on, and he knows super giant balloon perch. So looking forward to having him, and we will catch everybody later. Thanks for joining us. Oh.
fish unless there's at least 4 inches of ice, and that's with the safety.
You gotta love it. The eyeballs. Oh, wow. That's the biggest one yet. Big jumbo perch.